What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the NBA Hardwood Show here on Martin Luther King Day. Hopefully some of you had the day off, enjoying the holiday, watching some football. The Bills just scored. Josh Allen to Dawson
Knox, baby. Woo!
Yeah,
let's go.
I checked my sim, and he's my highest owned Bill outside of Josh Allen. So I'll take the touchdown there. We'll get to that game once this show is over. We do have 5 NBA games to talk about, and not surprisingly, I think the lowest number of viewers we've had to start the show all year long. I'm sure you guys, or I guess if you're not here, you can't hear this, but I'm sure people will trickle in, people watching football. But we will break down this 5-game NBA slate best we can, maybe get out of here just a little bit early today. Enough of me rambling. Let's throw it over to you, Mangone. How you doing on this Monday, January 15th?
Yeah, I am pumped, I think, for the Dawson Knox touchdown, so that's good. We'll take it. I'm in on that. And, I'm excited to watch some football. Yesterday was so fun watching the games and everything. Obviously, I'm a Packers fan, too, so I did have a lot of Cowboys, but I did kind of go into the game saying, well, listen, if the Cowboys happen to win, I'm going to make a shit ton of money, right? And if the Packers win, well, now my team's set for 10 years because they're not shitting the bed like Dak Prescott. So Jordan Love is looking like the real deal, and I'm excited for the Packers, and I'm excited to watch some more playoff football. I mean, it was a fun weekend, and let's get the next weekend, right? Those games are going to be fun too.
Well, you might have got the best of both worlds, man, going, at least DFS-wise, because the Cowboys crushed for DFS. I mean, Jake Ferguson, the play of the weekend. Obviously, Dak ended up getting there. It's a little ridiculous that Dak ended up with more fantasy points than Jordan Love, but that's just how DFS goes sometimes. Is what it is.
DC on my best balls that no one cares about, I had 40% Jake Ferguson, and on DraftKings you had to take a tight end. But on the flip side, I'm going to advance a ton, but it's going to be hard to get through the next round. I'll tell you that right now.
I had a lot too, but I mean those teams are dead in the traditional best ball playoffs because that's just one round. You get through the next round, but might be tough if you had a lot of Cowboys, which I certainly did. AP, let's go over to you. How you doing on this Monday afternoon?
Yeah, doing really well. And yesterday, I mean, for golf, it was really nice. The last 2 holes, I think it was the last 3 holes. I was like, you look at it, and you never should look, but you look at it, and you're winning like 40K, and then it goes into a playoff, and then you look a little bit later, and it's a lot less than that. But it was still a nice day in the golf streets, and I did it wrong. I overstacked the late game yesterday, and I was under on the Packers game. So I need, I got a good start now because for the 3-game slate, that's the contest I played the most of. I have a lot of Dawson Knox. So nice start there. And excited to break this down with you guys.
Well, listen, I'm not pouring out any drinks for you, AP. I saw your golf screenshot. What was it, 35K you won, something like that?
No. Okay, so you saw it wrong. It was supposed to be. It was one. I know, and probably people are like, I'm out there trolling or whatever. No, it was that. It was I was winning 39,000.
Yeah.
With 2 holes. 2 holes left to go, and then I ended up winning like 1,500. So it was one of those where it's just the last 2 holes. Absolutely destroyed me.
Well, I take it back then. I will pour out a drink for you after the show because that does suck. We got to stop starting this show with bad beat stories. I'm guilty of it myself, but it happens if you play a lot of DFS. We will move on to this slate. We'll get through these 5 games. First game we'll talk about Cleveland and the Chicago Bulls. No surprise here. Low total in this one sitting at 222. Cleveland is favored by 4. Injury news, not too significant on either side. Max Strus is questionable. Garland and Jerome remain out for Cleveland. And then Patrick Williams questionable for Chicago. Obviously, the Bulls have gotten their guys back. They've got a big 4 now, Mangone, if you throw Kobe White in there, which I think is fair at this point. Obviously, it's been the Donovan Mitchell show, but not a super friendly DFS game to kick off this NBA slate. What do you see, Mangone, Chicago, and Cleveland?
Yeah, I agree. We're going to move past this game pretty quick for me, at least. I'd say the one guy I see is popping is I see a Merrill at 5K, and I don't understand that. I'm good. I will pass on that. There's other good plays I can find. If he's going to be chalk, you know how I handle him. Talked about that a lot. And then when it comes to the rest of these bowls, they kind of cut into each other usage-wise. And on this specific slate, where you look to roster those guys, you think there's other options that are better. The one guy I'll make a case for is Nikola Vucevic. For one, we've attacked the Cavs with centers in the past. And two, Vucevic's usage is really strong. And like, if you told me I could play like any of these other bull studs at the center position, that would matter. But like, I can't, right? Vucevic is center eligible. And it just makes sense to go him based on the positionality. So I'm going with Vucevic here. He's probably the only play in this game, but that's it.
2 minutes up.
I thought the Steelers
Just
scored a
kidding.
touchdown. I got excited. I thought like someone housed it.
I thought that was a JT thing, but maybe it was AP doing that the whole time. I'm
No,
not sure.
it was definitely JT. I just figured out how to do it. So
Well, you're gonna have to teach me how to do that because I got to have some fun on the show as well. Let's go over to you, AP. What do you see Chicago and Cleveland?
yeah, and my bad, man. Go. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
It's just joke.
I legit thought a touchdown was scored. I got excited.
Yeah, so a couple notes here. You do like the Bulls, tight rotation, but they're relatively healthy. So I treat the situation by using some rules. When you're looking at now Kobe White, Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic, I kind of like one max. I think you could go two and pair him with someone like Alex Caruso, who's playing pretty nice. I do have a little bit of concerns with this game. So there's actually two teams that were just in Paris. That's the Cavs and the Nets. I wonder if we see a little bit of a hangover here because I think they're in Paris for what, like 5 days, 4 or 5 days. You just never know. I mean, these are world-class athletes. They fly and travel all the time. But just that little bit of lag there when you're facing, other world-class athletes can have some effects there. So I'm a little bit under on this game. I think I'm going to full fade the Cavs, and I think we just have better spots to target. On this one, if you did have to play someone, Donovan Mitchell was incredible in that game in Paris. I mean, he was all over. He would be the one guy that I would look to in tournaments as a spend-up option, but I kind of want to save that salary for later on in the slate.
Makes sense. At Chicago, Cleveland, we'll go to the next game. There's 2 games here in the 7:30 Eastern time window. First one we'll talk about is Boston and Toronto. Total in this one sitting at 239, so pretty big total. Boston favored by 6.5. Injuries on both sides. The Toronto Raptors missing their starting center, Jacob Poeltl, along with Christian Koloko. We'll see what they do. They've been starting Thad Young at center, which is kind of crazy to do in the year of our Lord 2024. We'll see if they go with that tonight. I'm not sure. And then Jaylen Brown out for Boston. Obviously, that opens up opportunity for the guards for Boston, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, who I think Mangone Porzingis, that is, man, he should eat in this game no matter what Toronto decides to do, whether it's Thad Young, whether it's Jonte Porter. Either way, it looks like a really good spot for Boston and a really good spot for, I think, all the Boston guys in this game. Pretty good game here. Talk to me, Boston and Toronto, Mangone.
Yeah, Boston, Toronto, definitely a place we got to target a little bit today, right? Jaylen Brown is missing. And without Jaylen Brown, well, we got to have some interest in some of these plays. For one, I think Derek White and Drew Holiday, they're both going to get some bumps there. And at their price points, they are solid options. So like I said, those Bulls that we talked about before in the mid-tier, I'd rather go to these Celtics. There's better plays, in my opinion. Sam Hauser is going to get a really nice bump as a value play. 3.9K. I think he's one of the better values on this slate. So I'll have interest in him. Jason Tatum, one of the better spend-ups on this slate. I'll definitely have interest in him. And Porzingis is going to go a bit under-owned. And I think in tournaments, he's someone I might like just, bump the projection up a little bit so I can get exposure to him because I think it's just going to be a lower-owned play that people should not completely ignore. So that's how I'm handling the Celtics side of the ball. The Raptors, I don't want to ignore some of these options, but so Thad Young, we'll talk about him. He started the other day. I know he's played 29, 23, and 13 minutes at 4.1K. I don't think he's the best value, but I could understand it if you wanted to full punt the position, but I don't think I want to get there. I think it's mainly looking at these Raptors mid-tier guys, right? Like an RJ Barrett, a Gary Trent Jr., Emmanuel Quickley, who is a little more pricey, but I think at 6'9", he's got a ton of upside in this matchup. Yes, it's a tough matchup, right? But the usage will be there for him. So I think these Raptors, all those guys in the mid-tier, they're in play. But another thing to call out with the Raptors, I don't think these guys are priorities. I think there's other priority plays on this slate.
Yeah, never love to target Boston. Obviously, a terrific defensive team. Let's go over to UAP, Toronto, and Boston. What do you see here?
I really wonder if this slate is a little bit like these Sunday slates, where you get these guys where people kind of overlook stuff. They a little bit, rely on the projections, and then they run stuff. You see that all the time on Sundays, and you're like, how is this guy 45% owned? I mean, there's multiple plays yesterday where I was just like, what is going on? I could see that with Thad Young, and people just like, oh, hey, he's starting,
Sure.
Going to get normal starter minutes. But it really hasn't been the case. He's been splitting run with the backup, Jonte Porter. Yeah. And the thing is the Raptors can always move Pascal Siakam to the 5 too, and they can run that smaller ball lineup. And that matchup might actually work against the Celtics, just with Porzingis out there. It's not like Porzingis is like your traditional post up big. I mean, that's not his style of play at all. So I'm going to be under on Thad Young and Jonte Porter. I see their ownership just being kind of inflated by people, maybe not putting the time in today and looking at things in these spots. When Jaylen Brown's out, I just always look at Tatum. Tatum's the guy I want. 9.7, very nice price tag. There's a few studs I think that are in smash spots on the slate. Jason Tatum's one of them. And then I do like some of the backcourt here. Dennis Schroeder, quickly. RJ Barrett, I think, is a really, really nice play, 6,500. I'm going to stick to those type of plays. I do think this game is going to be a good one to have pieces from. So Jason Tatum on the Celtics side. I'm going to be under on Thad Young and Jonte Porter, in favor for some of the backcourt plays here for the Raptors.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I like Porzingis a ton here. I like the Tatum call. I don't think I'll go crazy on the Celtics, but one of those two I think will be on my squad. Just one team for me tonight with football going on. And then I think if you're fading Porter and Thad Young both, I think the play is Siakam, right? Because he's the one that can steal both their minutes by moving to the 5. So that makes a lot of sense to get leverage on the field on the Raptors side of the ball. Next game on the slate is the Miami Heat and the Brooklyn Nets. As usual, a lot of injury news for the Heat. They get Tyler Hero back for this game, but they'll be without Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kevin Love also out, Kyle Lowry doubtful, Caleb Martin is in, and Jimmy Butler is questionable. So the Heat, it's really been the case for the last couple of weeks, kind of players in and out of the lineup. Jimmy Butler's missed a bunch of time, obviously. So a lot of moving parts here, Mangone. Not much news on the Brooklyn side of the ball. They should be more or less status quo with what we've seen the last few slates or so. Daron Sharp does remain out for the Brooklyn Nets. Mangone, what do you see Brooklyn and Miami?
Yeah, this is a game where you obviously have to have interest in some of these Brooklyn Nets. I mean, if you just look, there are going to be plays that we are interested in. Michael Bridges for one, right? The GC's at 7.3K. To be fair, though, he's busted spots at very high ownership. So something to kind of think about when building out your teams. I'm MMEing a little bit today. He's someone I might set a cap on. I might just say, hey, maybe I'll just go even with the field. He won't totally kill me. Or if I like what I'm seeing, maybe I'll just go under a little bit. So that's something I'll think about. Cam Johnson is a solid play. Again, 6K, though, he could easily bust at that price. And I could see a little bit of a hangover spot for these Nets, too. I mean, they were basically hungover in Paris, right? So I am a little worried about that, especially against a team like the Miami Heat, who are a grinded-out team and super annoying. Dennis Smith Jr. is popping up as a value. I think he's a fine play. I don't think it's, I don't think it's like AP said. Think about it a little bit, right, with some of these values today. I think he's fine, but I don't think he's just like this slam play. I at least just want to kind of call that out. Dorian Finney-Smith is another one that can easily just be an absolute bum at 4.4K and get you 12 DK points. He's someone else that I think people are going to gravitate towards a little bit. I do think Sam Hauser is going to be way higher owned than Dorian Finney-Smith, but I think he's another one that's going to garner some ownership here. And the Heat side of the ball, obviously, if Jimmy's out, I think things will change a little bit. And Jaquez did a ton the last game. I do think Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, when they're in these type of spots, they're just in general really good contrarian spend-up plays that people are not going to get to, and I think they should consider getting to. So I'll definitely have interest in them. Jovic at 5'5". Gosh, 5'5" is just a tough tag. Duncan Robinson is 5'8". He has been paying off that tag. I could see him getting there as a starter, but again, I want to be a little careful with some of the mid-tier heat. I really like those spend ups a little bit more as just contrarian options that people won't get to. And again, with the Nets, I mean, there's good plays here, but just be a little cautious with the Brooklyn Nets, right? Sometimes they can unload that bench a little deeper than you expect, and you just see guys in there you've never heard.
Yeah, agree with all that. I do think Tyler Hero, an interesting play here. I know he's a guy all three of us generally like when he's in a great situation. So as long as Butler is out, AP, I think Tyler Hero going to carry the load here with Lowry out, with Hawkes out, possibly Butler as well. I do like Tyler Hero quite a bit. What do you see here, AP?
Yeah, it was. I was kind of tilted because I had for the Paris game was early and the contests weren't that great, so it didn't really matter. But there was this report that came out that Spencer Dinwiddie was, late questionable tag with an illness, and then he ended up starting and playing. And I had like the perfect script where I was like really high on Cam Thomas, and then I had to go away from that because I'm like, now it's just too risky with this Nets team. And Dinwiddie ended up just being terrible anyway. Played 15 minutes. Cam Thomas was balling. Even Dennis Smith Jr., like this backcourt right now on the Nets side is pretty frustrating because Dennis Smith Jr. and Cam Thomas are like outplaying Spencer Dinwiddie right now. So there's no way I could play Dinwiddie. Cam Thomas is 5,800. Like, I don't even know how you play him. Dennis Smith Jr., 4,800 is definitely much more playable, but very, very risky right now with the Nets backcourt. Mikal Bridges was also awful in Paris, but he just plays so many minutes that I don't think he's a guy that you can full fade, but he might just naturally be a little bit too high owned here. Again, I kind of echo what Mangone said. I think he's fine, but not too excited about it. Cam Johnson is the one play for the Nets that I do have interest in. I don't like playing bigs against Bam, so I'm going to be under on Nick Claxton. Mm-hmm. And then the Miami Heat, man, another team that's very frustrating. But, like, if Jimmy plays, I'm not playing him. There's no way. He's been terrible. Like, he just – once the playoff gets here, we'll play Jimmy Butler. But I do think that you got to consider guys like Jovic, maybe even like Highsmith. This Nets team, it's gross right now, but they're finding ways to win. And, I don't mind mixing in a few of these plays like Highsmith or Jovic, but I don't love the spot.
Yeah, me neither. I definitely prefer the Miami side of the ball here. Sounds like all three of us prefer Miami, who I do think is in a pretty good spot here against Brooklyn. We'll go to the next game. I think a pretty good one potentially for fantasy. Another high total sitting at 246 are the Indiana Pacers and Utah Jazz. Utah favored by 7, and the Jazz have won 11 of their last 13 games, AP. I know you've been talking about the Jazz playing good ball. I certainly did not see – they were one of the worst teams in the league for the first part of the year. I did not see this turnaround happening for them. But they've been legit good over the last 3 weeks or so. And they get a good matchup here against an Indiana team, obviously playing without Halliburton, trying to find their identity to some degree are, I think, the Indiana Pacers. I talked about, betting the under on these last couple games. They've gone well under their total in each of the last 3 games. I think this one goes under as well. Their whole team changes when you take Halliburton off the court. They haven't been able to find the offensive rhythm. And I think that continues today in Utah. We'll start with you this time, AP. Utah, Indiana. What do you see?
Yeah, you've had such a good call on that as well. If they were playing TJ McConnell, like higher minutes, I wouldn't touch the total here as far as like overs go. But they're just not – they're not doing that. And Nembhard, more of a defensive guy. Bruce Brown, same, more of a defensive guy. So I'm kind of with you there on the under. The Jazz have been rolling, man, and they're going to keep rolling. It's a tough rotation to figure out. But Jordan Clarkson, I think, and I love that he's not starting, but he comes off the bench and plays over 30 minutes anyway. I think he's like a core building block type of play in this matchup. And since he's coming off the bench, he'll most likely get more of those minutes against a TJ McConnell-led lineup on the Pacers side. So you get a little bit of an uptick in pace there. So Jordan Clarkson, definitely the play I like. I even think Keontae George 4,900. I think he's very much in play. I think Lauri Markkanen against this Pacers team, 8,400, very much in play. I am setting the rule like I typically do, 3 max. If I had 3 Jazz players in my lineups today, I think I would be fine with it. If as long as it was like a Jordan Clarkson and then Kelly Olynyk was one of the other ones I like. I like him. I like his price. I like where he's at coming off the bench as well. It's probably a 2 max type of thing, but maybe you could get away with 3 with a Lauri Markkanen and John Collins. I don't know how you spin it, but this Jazz team is playing really good ball right now. Still a big total. The pace isn't as good as we're used to, like you said, with Halliburton out. But some of these Jazz players are going to have the fire emojis by their name at the end of the night. I think the guy that's most likely to do so is Jordan Clarkson. He's going to be one of my key building block plays. And then in larger field stuff, Lauri Markkanen's, Keontae George, Kelly Olynyk. I think you can go to those guys too. The Pacers side, it's just how do we even play any of these guys? They're playing like 12 deep. No one really gets big minutes. I just, pass and move on. And I think I'm going to do that here in this spot as well.
Yeah, Pacers side gets a little bit more interesting if the questionable guys, Bruce Brown, Aaron Nesmith, miss out Mangone, but I think they're somewhat likely to play. What do you see between the Utah Jazz and Indiana Pacers?
Yeah, this is one of those games I always say, right? Like, who are these two teams playing? And hey, they're playing each other, right? Clearly a game we have to have some interest in. AP brought up good points about the Jazz. Like, listen, I want to play these guys, but I do want to be a little bit careful of how many I am playing. I just think that too many of them is an issue. So I think overall you can make a case for, let's start with Lauri Markkanen. Let's get him out the way. I think he's a solid contrarian stuff, but I think I prefer Kristaps Porzingis instead. When it comes to some of these other options, it's like, I think Walker Kessler could crush in this matchup, and we have a bunch of bigs, right? John Collins, Kelly Olynyk. I think they're all in playing good options. And then from the other options, like Keontae George at 4.9K. He's been seeing a really healthy amount of minutes against the Pacers. I think he's just a good value. Jordan Clarkson at 6.7K. His upside's really good. His minutes have been more secure than they've been in the past. I think he's a really good play. Don't look now at what Colin Sexton's doing. I'm not saying I love the price on Colin Sexton, but when I do my 20 teams in MME tonight, I might just, at least if I don't have any Colin Sexton, I might sprinkle in just like a small amount, like put him in there just because what he's doing is insane. And he's still not going to be owned at that price. So I think you have to like those Jazz. And Utah's a little bit tougher, right? Benny Mathurin is now 6'4". And sure, Halliburton's not in. There's a lot of usage that you can get to, like McConnell. He's 7K. But the problem is we don't know who the guy's going to be, right? It's like a toss-up. And when these guys were in the 5K range, it was fine that it was a toss-up. But right now, I don't know. It's very concerning for sure. So I think at these price tags, I struggle a little bit to kind of get to almost any of these Pacers. Like, sure, could Obi Toppin or Isaiah Jackson get there at 5K and 4.6? Yes, but their floors are bad. Like, same with Aaron Nesmith at 5.2. It's just, I don't know what to do with these floors in the Pacers. Like, they're kind of plays that if I get a small percentage, sure, I won't do anything and complain. But if I have 50% or even 30% any of these guys, I'm definitely a little cautious with that projection on them, and I might move that down.
Yeah, I like the Utah guards. They have so many of them right now. Dunn, Clarkson, George, Sexton. They're all playing well. It's just you never know where the minutes are going to go exactly. But I do think a couple of those guys are going to have big games here, and I'm definitely pretty high on the Utah side of the ball for this one against the Pacers. Obviously, a great matchup for the Jazz. Let's get to the last game of the night. I realize we're cruising along here. Go ahead and contact my attorney, CJ Kaltenbach, with any complaints about the length of this show. Final game on the night, OKC Thunder and the LA Lakers. 238.5 total in this one. OKC favored by 1. Big news to come. Questionable are both D'Angelo Russell and LeBron James for the Lakers. Obviously, LeBron pretty much plays every game and is always listed as questionable, so we do expect him in there. I think Russell more legitimately questionable. And then on the OKC side, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is questionable to play. Obviously, if he's out, that opens up a ton of opportunity for guys like Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, who's been playing really well lately and has had a bigger role in the offense, especially passing the ball over the last 4 or 5 games would be interesting. So, yeah, obviously big news in this final game of the night. It is on an island at 10:30 Eastern time, 90 minutes after Indiana and Utah. So probably not going to have any of this news before the second to last game locks, which makes it a little bit tricky. AP, talk to us OKC and the LA Lakers.
Yeah, so LeBron did not play against Utah, against the Jazz, and that game was nuts. And actually, D'Lo he re-entered the starting lineup again, played 40 minutes, 26 shot attempts. I mean, he absolutely nuked. But obviously, without LeBron's basically their point guard. Obviously, all the usage is going to go to him, to AD, etc. But I think when looking at the total, when looking at the spread here, I think LeBron plays. I think Shea plays as well. This is like, what a great day of sports that we have. And we'll finish it off with, OKC and the Lakers. I mean, I'm really excited for this one. And I hope, I can't see Shea not playing in this game. And, but, who knows? And, with OKC favored by 1, it just leads me to believe that LeBron, Shea, all the stars are playing in this one. So, again, I want the studs here. I think this matchup is incredible for Anthony Davis. I'm really torn. I think I have AD a little bit ahead of Jason Tatum. I know I talked to Tatum earlier as one of the studs that I have a ton of interest in on this slate. I think AD could put up a monster number here against this OKC team. I think he needs to for them to keep this one close. Otherwise, OKC's good, man. This team is rock solid. They have a stud in Shea, whose MVP odds continue to get lower and lower and lower. I mean, he is easily top 4 potential MVP candidate right now. And his stock is only going up. I mean, he's been incredible. So if you want to try to find, I think it's difficult to do, but if you wanted to find a way to play the studs in this game, you're going to have to find some value. But I would play SGA and I would play AD. That's how I would do it if I had the salary. Assuming everyone is in, I'm going to be under on D'Lo. I don't expect him, if LeBron's in, I don't expect him to have that type of game that he did before. But hey, if you somehow have the stones to wait for this news and take the risk, and if LeBron is out, D'Lo, the usage he had last game was absolutely insane. So, but again, I think they all play, so I'm going to be off him. I'm going to be off Austin Reeves as well. It's basically the studs or pass for me. So LeBron, I think he's fine, but I prefer AD, and then Shea on the other side.
All right, that's AP's take on OKC and the Lakers. Mangone, Lakers, OKC, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so someone in the chat said Wood, good value at 4,500. He is someone that probably isn't popping enough that I'll probably bump up his projection. I think that is a good call, and especially against the OKC matchup, right? They're not that good against big men. Another thing to kind of call out here is Chet Holmgren. I mean, Chet's fine at 7.6. I think he's going to come with some ownership, but we got to keep in mind, this matchup's not easy for Chet Holmgren. I do think this is one that could be a little bit tougher. This could be like a rookie moment where he struggles a bit, right? Just a lot of ways it could kind of go wrong. So I'm a little under on Chet. One way to handle SGA is if you play him and you don't have LeBron on your teams. Let's say, if I run Saber and I only have 5% or 10% SGA, I might just make sure he's guaranteed into the utility spot, just because then I have a guaranteed swap to LeBron James just in case he somehow misses, right? Because I don't know if I'm going to have that much exposure to this game, but I will have exposure to it. And we may not have this news in time, right? It's kind of on an island. So I do think, though, that we've seen OKC have some really nice performances with these mid-tier plays, like Chet Holmgren, like Jalen Williams, and Josh Giddey. I do think one of these guys is going to have a pretty good game. Now, I'm not saying you have to set a rule to have at least one of them. I don't think that's correct, but I do think it's not a bad idea to get overweight on some of them. I think Jalen Williams is one that could do really well. Josh Giddey as well at 6'5". So I think the way I'd rank them is Jalen 1, Giddey 2, and then Chet 3 of those mid-tier guys. And then, the rest of them, they're a lot tougher to get to for sure. And on this slate, I don't think I love those OKC values. And of course, AD is a great spend if you have the money for it at 10.5. We attack OKC with centers a bunch, right? So it makes sense. And The rest of the Lakers, it's just tougher to get to. Like I said, I don't mind the Wood value, but it's definitely tough to get some of these Lakers at their prices.
Absolutely. That's 5 games on this slate. We did reach our very ambitious like total of 14 today. So thank you for all of you guys hitting the like. That's enough to get the plays of the day. We'll start with you, AP, your play of the day on this Basketball Monday.
Yeah, we knew that the crowd would be a little bit lighter today with NFL going on. And so no matter what, giving out the plays of the day. And I'm going to give one I think is – so a couple things. And this kind of plays on hopefully that people are a little distracted, not really putting in the work. So this is multiple parts here. Under on the Thad Young, the Porter, that situation. That's going to be one key move for me on this slate. And then I really like Keontae George for the Jazz, their rookie. I love the rotation he gets. He's going to get minutes. His usage is nice, too, in that second unit. And we've seen him get as high as 30 minutes, even in that second unit. So if that rotation's cooking, I think Keontae George could have a really nice day in there in what I think is going to be the more uptick in pace part of that game if he's matched up with TJ McConnell. Keontae George, 4,900, my play of the day.
Love it. He was on my short list. Let's go to you, Mangone, your play of the day today.
Yeah, I like the George call. Mine is going to be, I just talked about it. Like, I don't love that, like, Chet Holmgren as much today. A pivot to him and a pivot. I'm not saying you have to pivot off of Jason Tatum, but you play both, right? Kristaps Porzingis. I just think he's going to be around that, like, maybe like probably like under 10%. He could maybe hit like 15 max, but I don't think a lot of people are playing Kristaps Porzingis. I think he'd have a pretty big game, so I'll go with Kristaps Porzingis as my play of the day.
You stole my Mangone. He was my play of the day. Has played lower minutes in the last 2 games due to blowouts, but I think they'll need him out there in this one. And I love the matchup against that Toronto front court. But I will pivot to a different play of the day. I'll go Mr. Tyler Hero with so many of the playmakers, ball handlers missing for Miami. I think he's going to be able to cook this Brooklyn team who's not great at defending opposing scoring guards. So Mr. Tyler Hero, the DC Mom's Basement play of the day. That'll do it for this show. We do appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, join Run Pure Sports with the promo code New Year, and we will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, with the usual hour and 15-minute show. Enjoy the sports tonight. Enjoy the holiday. We appreciate you guys as always, and we will see you tomorrow, and we're out of here.